Oh, very nice. Hey there. You crept up on me. Don't mind me, just collecting some, well, you'll find out later. But, welcome to Devlog number 5. We coincidentally have 5 pretty major foundational updates to the game, so without any further ado, here we go. Well, actually, maybe a little bit of ado couldn't hurt. If you're new here, my name is Matt, and I'm working with my brother Mike on making an indie game called Clean Up on Isle Goblin, where you play as a goblin trying to protect their island from the invading humans and the pollution they bring. It's ultimately going to be a lot like Stardew Valley in the sense that you're building up your town and cleaning up the area, but the combat will play like Crypt of the Necrodancer, so honestly just think of it as a merging of those two incredible games. Feel free to go back and watch the other devlogs, but if you're too lazy, I think you'll figure it out. On with the show. So the first thing on the list this month was to implement cutscenes. If we ever want these dramatic NPCs to be more expressive, cutscenes are a must. I first made a list of all the different things a cutscene should be able to do. It should be able to take control of the camera and pan somewhere, make something do a little animation, start dialogue, make someone walk around, and this whole slew of other things. I called each of these cutscene steps and made a bunch of scripts that I could customize without touching the code. I then made cutscene objects that consist of a sequential list of cutscene steps. Then, when the time is right, the game will feed these cutscenes to the Cutscene Manager, and it will display them by running through each one step at a time. It's really quite simple and works pretty well. We can see a sample of it when I talk to this NPC in the cave. When I walk over and talk to her, she'll tell me about her slime problem, and the camera will pan over to the troublesome monsters, then pan back. There are lots of different options for what we can do with this. Maybe when they open up a chest and grab a key, it'll pan to the door that the key unlocks, or maybe when they enter a room, it'll pan over the hordes of enemies to the boss that the player is trying to kill. The possibilities are limitless. This now brings us to big change number 2, enemy spawning. Earlier I was just placing enemies one at a time, which is perfectly acceptable for our prototype, but eventually we want them to spawn naturally, and maybe even respawn. Now, thinking about respawning led me to a question. What different types of enemies are there? We would want some of the enemies to respawn, but some of them should be gone forever when you kill them. And what about groups, where there's a specific leader? If we kill the leader, shouldn't the minions be gone by the next day? I ended up classifying enemies into these 4 subcategories. First off, we have what I call an infestation. If a cluster of enemies is classified as an infestation, they'll come back the next day, even if they're killed. Then we have what I call a scourge. It's a one-time thing, so once it's killed, it'll be gone for good. And then we have a hive cluster. This will consist of a single leader and multiple followers, so as long as the leader chunk of enemies stays alive, the followers keep coming. But once the leader is killed, the followers will be gone the next day. And then last but not least, the shy cluster. This chunk of enemies will only spawn in the area if there are no other enemies present. So maybe if a group of evil humans are stomping around, the local bears and wolves won't run around openly. I made it so I could form little groups of enemies and drop them wherever I wanted, classifying them as one of the 4 cluster types. Then they'll behave accordingly. Here we see I kill this infestation and it's gone for the day. Leaving the area and coming back, it stays dead. But if I were to wait a day, it would respawn. Unfortunately, our poor little insomniac goblin doesn't really have a way to sleep yet, so you'll just have to trust me on this. But the framework is all there for it to come back the next day. This allows me to place these little chunks of enemies wherever I want, and the game will automatically take care of spawning them in or making enemies disappear or appear once the boss has been defeated. I don't need to manually code in which enemies disappear at what times or anything like that. It's super easy. This leads us to our next change, quests. I added the ability for NPCs to assign quests if the player selects the correct dialogue. This was pretty easy. First, I drew up a new page of the player's notebook menu that would show all the active quests, along with some details. Here we see when I scroll far enough through this notebook, I get to the new quest menu. I then made a little pop-up that occurs if you assign or complete a quest. Here we can see it in action. When we talk to the NPC and accept the quest, we get a little quest accepted notification. This particular one is a kill quest. We can check our menu and see that it shows up there, with a brief description. This quest is in phase 1, being assigned. If we go outside and kill that slime for her, we get this notification that the quest has entered phase 2, being complete. If we check our quest log, it now shows an exclamation mark. If we then head back inside and talk to the NPC, it will override whatever other dialogue she would have said and get to the quest cash-in dialogue. She then shows us this wonderful, well-deserved gift of, wood, I guess, and the quest is now in phase 3, being cashed in. If we check the quest log, we now see a green check mark, indicating that it's complete. We now have the ability to add in any sort of quest just by making one in the menu and assigning it to a dialogue, no coding required. We can have kill quests, fetch quests, crafting quests, farm quests, whatever else. This really is a huge tool for helping us bring this place to life, so I'm excited to have it ready for once I start actually implementing the story later on. Now, that was a pretty quick menu to implement, and since I was on a roll with UI, I decided it was time to tackle the biggest menu of them all. That's right, the main menu. First, I needed to decide what to put there. This was hard. Do I put a relaxing beach scene with a ship full of scary humans looming off the coast? Do I put a cute scene of a goblin sleeping peacefully? Eventually, I decided I simply wanted to show the player's island, so I threw together this cutscene sequence. Here we see it flashes the studio name, then pans up to show the island and the name of the game. Then 3 buttons pop up so the player can start the game. I'll eventually animate this so we see waves moving on the island, along with a puff of smoke from the volcano, maybe little ships off the coast or whatever. I also want to put in a bunch of enemy islands down below that we pan over, to show that there are tons of humans nearby. But I'm putting function before form here and just wanted to get it to work first. So back to the menu, I made it so that when we click the start button, it'll show all the files. If there aren't any, we can click the little plus button to start a new one. This will open up the HUD for creating a file. We need to enter a player name and an island name if the player, for some crazy reason, doesn't like the defaults, and eventually we'll have character customization here, instead of this weird watercolor island. Now here's the annoying part. I needed the player to be able to enter text, but the problem is we have some users that are playing with a controller and don't have easy access to a keyboard. I needed an in-game keyboard, like the PlayStation or Xbox ones, for those poor controller schmucks. It would need to have all the different character options, including those strange ones that I never use since I only write in English, so I put on my stop complaining and just do it hat and made a quick keyboard. I used my custom button script and tweaked it so these ones would change as we hit either shift or the special character key. We can see it in action here. If I hit shift, they all change to their uppercase forms. If I hit the special characters button, it'll swap over to those. And we can unclick the shift button to see the lowercase special characters. If we ever hit one of the buttons, it will add to the displayed text. It was much easier than I thought it would be, and the player now has the ability to type with controller support. So back to the file creation. Once we enter a name for each of these things, we can hit enter to create the actual file, which shows our new name we came up with, along with some statistics about playtime, the current date of the game, and how much money we have. Speaking of money, I decided our Goblin economy running off of coins and such was a bit outdated, so I decided to make teeth their primary form of currency. I was holding a bottle cap and thought about how Fallout uses bottle caps as their currency and got inspired. It's a little alarming for this freaky little homie to go around collecting teeth, but I thought it'd be fun. Everyone I've told seems a bit creeped out by it though, so feel free to either yell at me about it or commend me for this glorious contribution in the comments below. Or of course you could head on over to the Discord where I'm much more likely to see it and potentially yell at you for being wrong depending on what you say. Either way, that's all I've got for this month. If the game seems super fantastic and you just can't wait to start collecting teeth, please head on over to Steam at the link below to give a wishlist to get notified when the game releases. If you like these videos, make sure to like, subscribe, and ring the little bell so I can cause vibrations in your pants whenever I release a video each month. And of course, if you like having your childhood ruined, come on over to Instagram or Twitter to see some weekly pixel art. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.